Hey guys! So, today's video, we're doing malicious compliance. If you can see the mark on my shirt, a tiny stain, I don't want to hear it. I love this shirt. It's so fucking cool. I'm so mad at myself that I have stained it. I'm just going to pretend it's not there. And I want you to as well. Okay, so you want the spotlight? Enjoy. I love it already. In university, we had a team project on programming. I was unlucky with my partner. He kept slacking off and did absolutely nothing. I tried to get him involved, but all I heard was the same thing. I'll do it later. I don't understand. But you're better at this. I did everything myself. During the defense, I was supposed to present the project and answer questions, while he just stood there nodding and pretending to understand. I even explained the main points to him so he wouldn't look completely lost. And then, just a second before I stepped forward, this individual jumps in front of me and throwing over his shoulder says, "I'll do everything, you just enjoy it," and steps onto the stage. Alright, I complied. And it was fun. He crumbled within the first few minutes. He stumbled, mixed up terms, and explained the code wrong. The professor started grilling him with questions, and he just dug himself deeper into a hole. Eventually, they turned to me. "Can you explain?" Sure, as my partner already explained, and gave a clear explanation of the project, looking perfect in contrast to him. I got a great grade. He got penalty assignments and a public dressing down from the professors. And yes, his lady in the audience looked at him as though he died right on stage. And no, this isn't the story where the strong take advantage of the weak. I was a healthy first-year student and he was a skinny, weak, but overconfident student whose boldness overweighed his physical size. Where did he get the audacity?
The audacity!
That question is so simple. Why my chauffeur could answer it, Einstein. You could have left out those last couple of sentences. Agreed, taking shots at someone's health and physical side was unnecessary at best and distracted from the rest of the story. Yeah, it was a little catty. But then if someone's been pissing you off and trying to take advantage of you for weeks or months, then you're going to end up just being petty. And also, people that age, their frontal cortex is not completely developed yet. They're going to be petty and catty. By the way, he ultimately failed his exams in the second year and was expelled. Up until that point, he had shown some very ugly behaviour. See, I told you there was something else behind this. From manipulating insecure girls to make them do his work to outright parasitism, I don't know what that means, I'm not that smart, towards other teammates. He was like a cartoon character whose existence is hard to believe. Next, boss said we must take our lunch at 12. So we did. At my old job, we used to have flexible lunch breaks at work. Could go anytime between 11:30 to 2. Just made sure someone was covering. Worked fine. New manager comes in, says everyone must take lunch at 12, no exceptions. Okay then, 12 hits, we all just walk away. Phones ringing, customers mid-sentence, not our problem. Boss looked panicked, trying to handle it all. By the time we got back, it was a complete mess.
These are the consequences of your actions.
Next day, new rule, lunch break between 11:30 to 2 is fine. Oh, so back to normal. Cool, boss. Oh, I love it. The lesson here for new managers is don't make any changes for a while. Whatever the reason for the previous person leaving or the position opening up, let the inmates, run the asylum for a bit. Learn their habits, their abilities, their commitment, their personalities. Then use that information to adjust schedules, priorities, and responsibilities. Just sit back and observe for a while. Walking in and changing things in the first day, week, just reeks of superiority and entitlement. Get to know the company and team before doing a thing other than figuring out where the kitchen and restrooms are. I couldn't say it better myself. I actually had this conversation today where I turned around to a colleague and we were talking about someone who used to be one of our managers. They were like a couple of grades above me, but I've had a lot of managers and I clocked this person as soon as they come in. I said, this is a career person who doesn't give a fuck about the people who work underneath them. They see this as a stepping stone to their next job. They won't be here for more than 2 years, and within those 2 years they will end up fucking everything up for the people who have worked there for a long time, who know how to do their job, but are pushed and pulled into doing things that they know they shouldn't be fucking doing. Doesn't work properly and it's just going to cause a mess basically. And that's what ended up happening. We were pushed into going live with something that we shouldn't have, just so that he could at the end of the year say, oh, aren't I so good? I did this and I did that and I got this many clients on this thing. And within a couple of months, we had to backtrack the whole entire fucking thing that he pushed through. When you are a new manager, fucking listen to the people that work there. You want to listen to their opinions and their feedback. You can't always, obviously, adjust everything for every piece of feedback you get, obviously, but making sure people feel heard is the first important thing of being a manager. The second is making sure you understand processes. I've always said, like, I have no idea what I would do if I had to move into a different department, because I've been in the same department for like over 10 years now. That's the reason I'm good at my job, is because I've done all of the fucking roles. So I have no idea what I would do is if I tried to manage another team not knowing any of their roles. I know I would take time to understand every single role everyone does, and then I would try to manage them. What needs improvement? What's their work schedules like? Are they getting work-life balance? Because having a happy team also means people want to work hard for you. They're happier when they come to work. You've got people who are really pissed off when they come to work. You're going to get shit productivity from them. Anyway, that's my 2 cents as a manager. Okay, my coffee malicious compliance story. Many years ago, I had just gotten hired on as a rookie firefighter at a moderate-sized city in the southeastern United States. I don't know why that sentence was so hard for me to read. Other than the typical ribbing that rookies always get, my probie year was not bad. There was, however, a lieutenant that no one liked at all. It's always the managers and lieutenants, isn't it? And wouldn't you know, I got assigned to his engine company for a 3-month rotation. He demanded that I was to do all the station chores, which is normal. And he threatened to give me poor evals if I did not have coffee ready at all times for the senior firefighters. Really? They can't make their own coffee. This was not normal, and the rest of the engine company knew this. Me being a rookie and not wanting a bad eval, note that I am not a coffee drinker, I decided to give him what he wanted, but as a non-coffee drinker, would make coffee. I absolutely filled the coffee filter to the brim, like I had to scrape it off. Oh my god, level at the top. I then proceeded to use about 1/2 to 3/4 the amount of water needed. The resulting coffee was so strong and so thick, you just had to cut a piece off after you poured it. Completely undrinkable. 2 times. It took 2 times, and I was ordered not to make coffee anymore. I got terrific evals as well. Sounds like my only attempt to make coffee in college. I was told to make a pot of coffee, explained I've never made coffee, and I was told just put some coffee in the filter, some water in the tank, and turn it on. So I put the filter in, figured it should be sized for how much coffee I needed, added the water, and turned it on. I was told my coffee was not just strong, it was mean. That's the thing, like, I'm asked sometimes to make a cup of tea for someone. I don't drink tea. I've never drank tea. When I've tried to make tea, they're like, Jesus, this is terrible. And I was like, I warned you, I don't drink tea. I don't know how to make it. Last story. This is the longer one. The boss yells at me for following instructions and tells me to do the opposite next time, which backfires. Okay, so about 20 years ago, I used to work as an office assistant at a small company where we would receive orders from clients. Then we would assign the work to one of our freelancers who were well compensated and respected professionals. My boss was such a professional herself, and when possible, we would assign that work to her. I accepted the minimum wage job because she told me I could sometimes get tasks assigned as a freelancer with the nice freelancer compensation that she would personally train me. In less than a year, I would most likely be promoted to a regular freelancer and make very good money. This sounds like a great career path to my young and naive ears.
Bombastic side eye.
Why do I feel like she just wants you to do stuff for free that she should be paying someone for, or doing her freelance work and she gets the extra money? Let's see. One of the things she had told me in the very beginning was that when you take over an order, you become like a project manager for that order. You need to make sure that the freelancer would finish the work on time, as the work was usually time sensitive. Additionally, she loved going on long lectures about how she is paying me minimum wage for me to use my brain and figure things out when necessary. No. Teach people. Don't just be like, oh, we'll figure it out. If it goes wrong, then don't come complaining. These lectures were mainly a vehicle for her to stroke her own ego by explaining to her employees how our brains were not as smart as her. Wow, she's condescending too.
This.
When people are doing shit for you, I'll never understand it. One day, our biggest corporate client had placed a large order that was due on Monday by noon, and we had assigned the task to my boss to do over the weekend. It was Monday morning, time was ticking, and my boss hadn't arrived at the office. The client had called to see if we were going to provide the work soon, as it was urgent. I tried calling my boss, who didn't pick up her mobile. I called half an hour later and texted her. No answer or reply while noon was fast approaching. So I called her landline at home. Her husband picked up, told me she wasn't home, and I explained very briefly why she was trying to get a hold of her. Wow, is she having an affair? Less than an hour before noon, my boss called, furious that I had been so insistent on getting a hold of her and that I had created a state of stress and emergency at her house. Her home number was for emergencies only, and this wasn't an emergency. It's not professional to call people when they are not at work. Yeah, I bet she does, though. She told me she got everything under control and she was now sending the work to the client directly. When she arrived at the office, she gave me a big scolding in person and told me that I do need to hound other freelancers, but not her.
I knew it!
I hadn't even got to that sentence yet. It was her business and she got everything handled. She knew all the clients and they were clients because of her. She looked me in the eye and told me if I take over a task, it's not your task anymore, it's my task. You don't need to bother me with reminders. You just give me the instructions for the client and I'll handle everything myself. From that point on, your job is done. I never miss deadlines. If the client calls, you tell them I'm on it and you don't call me or text me about it. Fair enough. I apologized for the stress and repeated the new instructions back to her for confirmation. She was very happy with that and confirmed I had understood everything. She once more gave me her favorite lecture about how she is paying me minimum wage for me to use my brain with a lot of condescending examples, wow, I hate this person, of how she always uses her brain unlike us normal workers. Look, do I think that about some people sometimes at work? 100%. Will I tell them that though? No, I won't. I could only nod along as if her narcissistic rant was actually teaching anybody anything. About a month or so later, another client come in with an order. I accepted it. My boss was available to handle it, so I forwarded everything to her and I was considered my work in regard to that order done as instructed. On the day of the deadline, I was on vacation and was hiking in a remote area with spotty cell coverage. Let me guess, she tried to phone you constantly. The other office assistant called me and told me the client had called the office to check if the work was ready. I told my colleague that our boss was on it and that we didn't need to worry as our boss was going to handle it and that my clear instructions were to tell the client our boss was personally on it. The task would be done by the deadline and explicitly not to call our boss to remember her of the deadline. Then since I was on vacation, I needed to conserve my battery and everything at the office was handled. I switched off my phone. An approaching deadline that my boss had to meet was explicitly not an emergency. Also, I had recently realised that my boss had knowingly misled me about the career opportunities this job was affording me, so I wasn't going to be on call on my rare day off. Good for you. You shouldn't have been anyway, but still, I'm glad you finally set a boundary. While I was hiking without care in the world, my boss had managed to forget about the deadline. By the time she realised she had missed it, the office was closed. My boss had urgently finished the work, but it turned out she didn't know the client so well as she didn't have their contact details. As the order was in the office and my phone was off, she had to go there herself, fetch it, and use the contact details to deliver the work late. This was particularly embarrassing as my colleague had informed the client our boss was personally doing the work for them. When I came back to work, it was pandemonium. She screamed at me, no, fucking no! But I simply pointed out that everything I had done was following her instructions. Why did you do this? You told me to. Why didn't you do that? You told me not to.
Here are the consequences of your actions.
She was fuming, but she knew I was correct and I had acted exactly as instructed. She also screamed at me for my phone being off, but I said I needed to conserve my battery for emergencies and this was clearly not an emergency. And I'm not on call while on vacation. Malicious compliance for the win, right? Well, narcissists never accept blame and she had an idea of how to shift the blame to me after all. For fuck's sake. But you didn't provide me with the client's contact details with the order assignment. How could I have delivered them the work? It was your fault for not providing me with all the information. I pointed out she told me she knew all the clients personally, but if she had used her brain like she is constantly telling us to... I love this already. She could have easily noticed that the order instructions were on the client's letterhead with all the contact details spelled out. I love it. On every single page, bottom and top. Now that was a huge slap to her fragile ego, and remembering her face in that moment still makes me smile. Oh, I'm smiling for you. That was beautiful. Needless to say, I was fired. For what? Of course I didn't mind. Don't you just love happy endings? My guess is that you got fired for failing to crawl up her arse to make her feel as special as she knew she was. Learning she wasn't special was grounds for dismissal. And she dared to call you on vacation How unprofessional of her. I told you. Fucking knew it. Her not realising all the contact details were part of the letterhead. Chef's kiss. Oh, I love that. That was a good one. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give us a like and subscribe if you like it. I really appreciate it. I'm going to go enjoy my Pizza Hut that's been sitting on my counter for the last 20 minutes. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you all in the next one.